All right. You good?
I'm good.
Are you nervous?
I am nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Because we have to talk, and I don't.
It's not our first conversation, Alyssa.
I know, but I don't know.
And you do podcasts.
I know. I talk to people all the time. I love to talk.
That's like what you do.
But I was really nervous about. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's he gonna ask me? Am I gonna be prepared? I feel prepared.
Well, that's the thing about a conversation.
I didn't want to be prepared though, because
Right.
I want it to be like authentic. I want my real, off-the-cuff answers to come out.
That's great, because
That's what you're gonna get.
about.
Except for one. I did think about one question that you told me you were gonna ask me.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
I even surveyed the fam. Just
Really?
to see if what I thought is what they thought when we get to that question.
I'm dying to hear what the fam said about it.
Yeah. I got some pretty good answers.
Well, you ready to do this?
I'm ready.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the I'm Here For It podcast. Whatever you got going on in life, I'm here for it. Things may be good, things may be bad, things may be medium. What's medium?
Medium?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's a thing that they could be, but
If they are medium or good or bad, I'm here for it. And so is our guest today. I'm so glad you're joining us on this podcast. And welcome to my friend, Alyssa
Hi.
O'Neill.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have
And
you.
so nervous, but it's going to be great.
Which cracks me up because you were enthusiastic when I asked you, and not everybody
I don't know
is.
that you asked me. I think I told
Is
you.
that how it went? Is that how it went?
I was just like, I'm so surprised. You haven't asked. No, I was kidding with you.
I bumped into you after a Teener League baseball game. Our kids were playing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, you have a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was offended that you didn't know that. Like, you were surprised by that.
I knew you would have your own podcast one day.
You
I just
believed
didn't
in
know
me.
when. I believed in you. I had faith that it would come to fruition. And that's why I was like, wait, you have a podcast? And I feel like I need to be on it
Well,
so that we can have a conversation.
I could show you, though, even before you invited yourself on this podcast.
Was I on the list?
You were on the list.
Well, that makes me feel better. Okay.
I have a long list.
So I didn't like really make you ask
No,
me.
I was
I
going
didn't
to ask
corner
you.
you into it.
And here's why. Because you, I've gotten to know you quite a bit. I consider you a friend. You've worked for me.
I have.
And quit.
I just talked about this on my podcast. We'll have to talk. Yes, I just talked about it.
And I was, sometimes when people, and for really good reasons, but sometimes when people move on, and you didn't really move on because you still come to church.
I'm still here.
You still help out with
Yes.
stuff. If I need you to do something,
Right.
you still volunteer.
Yes.
I was genuinely sad when you were like,
But here's
even
the
though I
thing.
was like, yeah, you have to because of
I
the
know.
time
It was
and the
the
children.
timing and my children, and I had a baby, and it was like a whole scene.
It was too much.
However, I recently had a revelation about that time. So on my podcast, we did this episode on limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
which are basically, if you don't know what a limiting belief is, it's like things that are not true that
Yeah.
you think in your own head, and it holds you back from achieving your full potential. And so as I was in reflection about this, I realized that quitting that job was actually a limiting belief
Really?
that I allowed to hold me back. Not that I, wasn't necessarily reaching my full potential, and you called me out on this
I was just
in the
gonna
phone
say.
call when I quit. You said to me, "Are you sure you don't need to push through this to make you a better leader?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm sure. I think I don't need to push through." And now looking back, so what was funny on my podcast, my friend Ashley, who I do it with, was like,
Yeah.
what is one thing that you wish you would have pushed through, or that you realize that you stopped doing it because you felt unequipped? And I was like, oh, that immediately,
Really?
off the cuff, that's what came up. So it was the most I've ever felt unequipped in my life, from the beginning, even just before I had the job. So I was small groups person, and I was on the small groups team prior.
Yeah, right.
And even when I got asked to be on the small groups team, I felt unequipped, right? And then when you were like, this job would be perfect for you. Are you sure? I think that you don't really know me. So that's kind of how I felt.
I still stand by that, though.
I know. Well, so what I realized is that sometimes God calls you to things that you don't feel equipped for in the moment.
Right.
But we know he doesn't.
Actually, most of the people that got called to really big things did not feel equipped at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you could put me in that category now because I felt like I didn't know enough. So I just felt like there's so many other people who just know this better. And I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people who praying, I feel like I'm like a mediocre prayer person.
That's hysterical.
Like my prayers I'm like, someone else should probably pray us out on this.
God is measuring the
yeah. And he's not, but that's
qualities.
literally how I feel
Like
about
grading.
my prayers. But that job stretched me in ways that I probably should have allowed it to stretch me more. And it was one of the biggest things that I missed, like when I wasn't a part of it anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Because I loved it. If I could have just got out of my own head, I probably would have been great.
I tried to help you get out of your own head.
I know. You really tried to push
Because you're really, you're really gifted. And it was, there were other reasons, right?
Well,
so it wasn't just that. It was you had a baby.
I had a baby.
You
and
have
that
your
was
hand.
a lot.
You have a lot of babies.
I have 4 babies.
Not babies
no,
anymore.
They're not babies anymore. You know what it's like. You have 3 kids. So you get to that point where you we went to Baltimore a couple weekends ago and we forgot the stroller. And we're walking through Inner Harbor and I'm just all my kids were in front of me and I'm looking at them like, oh no. I have no babies. They're all walking on their own to places without my assistance, which is amazing and sad all at the same time.
Just wait till one of them goes to college.
I'm not looking forward to that.
My family still makes fun of my walk off Penn State University Park campus that day. Hey, I didn't even care. Shamelessly sobbing.
That's fine.
Dads wouldn't look me in the eye. Mom's teared up walking by me.
That's awesome.
It was so rough.
I love that, but it's just crazy as your kids grow up. So so that's going on with me.
So much. You have your own podcast. What's the podcast about?
It's called Hustle and Harmony. And it's with my friend Ashley, who we met through my direct sales business. And we talk about how high achieving women can achieve more harmony through the hustle. Because I don't like when people use the word balance. Because balance is completely unachievable. There is no balance in this world, but everybody expects you to hustle.
Yeah.
And I don't really like the word hustle either, partially because it reminds me of an old basketball coach that I had in middle school. And that was his hustle. And so I just don't like that word. But in a hustle culture, how to have that harmony and balance, which knowing me, that that's something I've struggled with is getting harmony. So I feel like I've gotten to a place where I have more of that now, and I want to help other women feel that way too, because it's easy to get lost in the hustle of life. So that's what that's about. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And they just search Harmony and Hustle on...
Yeah. So you'll find us on Instagram, the Hustle and Harmony Pod. We're on YouTube.
Nice.
The Hustle and Harmony Podcast. Yeah.
Cool.
New episodes drop every other Wednesday, unless it's a special episode.
I love that you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're a high-functioning... director, high leadership skills in your business world.
Business, yes.
And work with a lot of women.
A lot of women.
Selling, who sell a lot of product.
A lot of product.
Are we allowed to even mention what product is?
Yeah, we can say makeup, skincare. It's a beauty business.
It's a beauty business.
Yeah.
But you one time told me it's not about the makeup for you.
No, it's not at all.
So what's it about?
It's about, so one thing I always knew about myself was that I wanted to serve. Going through, in high school, people would be like, what do you want to be when you go to college? And I'm like, I have no idea. I changed my major 5 times. My mom was ready to kill me because I really did not know what I wanted to do with my life. Good thing she worked for Penn State, so I got 75% off my tuition.
Nice.
So it made it a little bit more manageable that I kept changing. But I knew I wanted to serve people. And so what I love about my business is that I can serve women. And the makeup and skincare part of it, it's not the selling of it. It's when you sit in front of a woman who lacks confidence because of things she's been told or how she feels about how she looks, and just having a conversation and building that relationship. If I could spend an hour with them, it changes me for the better, not just changes them. So that's what I love about it. And then the culture of our company, the company I'm a part of, I didn't know this at the time, but I've been a part of my business for, let's see, it'll be 15 years this summer. That's a long time. And so when I started, I was 22. And I had no direct selling experience, and I didn't even sell my own Girl Scout cookies. My mom did. So, like, I was like, I don't know that this is for me, but I'm going to give it a try because I was so unhappy with where I was in life at the time, and I needed money to pay for my wedding. And so that was how I got into it. I was like, oh, I'll just give it a whirl. And what I fell in love with was the culture of, like, women empowering women, and we're a Christian company, and our mission's enriching women's lives. And if it weren't for my business, I wouldn't even be in this church. That's how I got here. Yeah. So it's expanded my faith. That's my favorite thing that I've gotten out of my business is my spiritual journey, because I am surrounded by so many faith-filled women that I never would have been in front of if it weren't for my business.
That's
it's
so
my favorite
cool.
part. Yeah.
But you've just followed that path not because of some selfish reason or a desire for power.
No, I just love to help people.
I just want to be really, have a label that makes me seem really successful. You just want to help people. And that's very clear. Like, we've been friends for a while. So I don't have, although I probably could use some eye cream. I don't have a real interest in.
It's Men's Health Month.
Right.
You should use SPF. No, I'm just kidding.
But, I do watch your stuff when it pops up in my feed. And it is clear that you genuinely care and want to empower the women that you connect with through this business. Big time. That is super cool.
Yeah. And because I am so not the person who I was, like, prior to my business. I was very... I mean, I still have a little bit of this, but my confidence was, like, very low. Confidence from being in, like, bad relationships in my college years. And my self-esteem was really in the toilet when I started. And there's a lot of women who I think don't realize that you can have choices and, like, you're not stuck in a box. And so that's kind of my goal, is, like, helping them to see outside of that box, because it can get a little hard sometimes for women.
You motivate too.
Yeah.
You're a motivator.
I'm a motivator.
What motivates people best?
Well, so it's hard to motivate someone else, right? Because they have to motivate themselves. But I feel like you can inspire them through just helping them to see the vision for what they could have. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's one of my biggest gifts, is that I have the ability to see potential in people.
Okay.
And when you can see their potential and give them vision for where they could go, just as a person, that in itself is motivating. Because what happens with women is, when we're little girls, we have all these really big dreams and goals, and then the world comes in, and then they tell us, you're this, you're that, you can't do this. And so as we start to get older, we lose those visions and dreams. And so it's important to be that person, I think, who can breathe belief into somebody else, because they haven't seen their potential or envisioned that for a long time. So I think it's really helping people to create vision for where they could go, believing in them. Like, I always say, I'm somebody's biggest cheerleader. Like, I'm always like, yeah, you could do it. And I was a cheerleader, so it fits the bill. But but my personality style is, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if you know the DISC personality styles, I'm a D. Like,
really?
I'm a high D. but I just have this ability to connect with people.
All right. So you're a high D.
I'm a high D.
But you connect easily with people. Do you know what I am?
What?
Could you guess? Like, on the personality scale?
Oh, I would think you're a D. Maybe an I.
I'm a high D, high I.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s.
Yes.
And you have to be. Your I has to be high, because high Ds are like direct, know what they want, make decisions, high risk decisions, stick by them.
That's me.
Strong leader.
Yeah.
High I is very personable, likes to be the life of the party.
I am a DI.
Wants everybody to like him.
Yes. I'm so not a C. I can tell you that much.
No, C.
There's no C.
I'm way
I
low.
need people around me who are C's to be like, you type that wrong in the email.
Detailed people.
Thank you.
Right, yeah. And the S, the support.
Yes.
Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
But I've surrounded myself with those kind of people.
Yes, which is super important as a leader.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a D.
So have you surrounded yourself with people that are different than you in your business?
Yes. I would say the majority of the women that I lead are like C's and S's and I's.
Which are, for our audience who might not know all this stuff, C is detail oriented, just making it super simple.
Yep.
Like there's much more to it.
There's much more to it.
S are like your support people.
Yep. They're like all about their family and all that kind of stuff.
And then I are like the
life of the party.
Life of the party.
They love to connect with people.
Yeah.
And then
D
your
are
D's
the
are
strong leader.
Yeah. Strong leader.
Yeah.
Which is funny because have you ever gotten, like growing up, I mean, I've definitely been a D my whole life, for sure. Yeah. But people would make that out to be a bad thing. Did people ever make that out to be a bad? Maybe it's because people still do. I think it's because I'm a woman and I'm a D.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Especially because I'm around a lot of men, like in sports stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, here she comes. But it's just because they know. Like, I'm just a very direct person. You get it one way. I'm really nice. Yeah. But, like, I'm just I don't beat around the bush kind of thing.
I think sometimes the D's get a bad
rap
because of a few who are jerks.
Yeah, and I'm not a
And
jerk.
what's interesting about those people is those are usually DCs.
Yes, because they're also
DCs are the hardest people to work with, to get along with, to live with.
Yes. Good thing I'm not a DC.
No.
I'm a DI.
DIs are awesome.
We're really cool.
Yeah. People should just, let's do it. Like, yeah.
And I don't know about you. I think that you have this in you. Have you done the Clifton Strengths?
Probably. I don't know.
So that's a good one. You can like do it for free, I think, on Clifton Strength Finders. But I have activator in mine. It's like one of my top 5. And that means that like when I decide something, like I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to take time. Like we don't want to figure this out. We're going to go.
Yep.
We're doing
Make a decision and roll and then deal with the consequences.
Yes. So like with my podcast, I've been wanting to have a podcast for a long time. And people would tell me, you should have your own podcast. I'm like, okay. And then I was talking to my friend Ashley and I was telling her about it. She's like, well, I want to have a podcast. And I was like, well, maybe we should have one together. And we both have a little bit of activator. So we had that podcast was ready to go within like 2 weeks before we had time to think about it. And then we're sitting on the first episode and that imposter syndrome like creeps in and you're like, what are the people who I went to high school going to say? But like, what are people going to think of this? Why am I doing this? Am I equipped to be on a podcast? But then I just decided I don't really care. It's not for me. It's for the people that I'm helping. And then,
that's a huge piece.
Yes.
That's the piece that helps people get over their insecurities, their fears, their and I don't know if like even basic things like public speaking.
Yes.
So so many people in our audience probably like have fears that hold them back or insecurities that maybe hold them back, or maybe they're not holding them back, but they cause disruption in their path forward. It's a burden that they're carrying that continues to present itself that they have trouble getting past. Mm-hmm. And the key to getting past, one of the keys to getting past all of that is to realize or make it or not think about yourself as much.
Yes. Because nobody cares as much as you think that they do.
No. And why are you really doing what you're doing? Right?
Yeah.
You're pushing past imposter syndrome, hopefully, for your family or for the people that you're helping, or because you've been given a gift and you're called to share it. Right. And that sharing it is going to help the world around you.
Yeah.
And the more you think about helping the audience, the less you're thinking about yourself, the less inhibiting those fears become.
Yeah.
People talk to me about public speaking a lot.
Yeah.
Because I do it a lot.
Right.
I'm very comfortable with it.
Yes.
I don't feel nervous much anymore.
Right.
If you switch up my situation, I'll feel a little nervous, but like not just until I get used to the setting.
Right.
But the real focus is so intently on the audience.
Right.
That it takes you out of the equation.
I agree.
And that, I think for our listeners, right? Like apply that to whatever is inhibiting you in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever's holding you back, whatever's keeping you from trying to apply for that new job, whatever's telling you you're not good enough for whatever, whatever's holding you back and your parent, whatever.
Right.
Like just the more you live for others, the more freeing it is for yourself.
Yes, I totally agree. And you have to be really careful. I tell people this all the time about who you tell things to. So like there are certain people that I will have big conversations with because they're also big thinkers. And then there's other people who I will not have big conversations with because they're not big thinkers. So if you're like, having trouble with something or whatever, you want to have a conversation with someone who's a big thinker, because they're going to be the person who's like, oh, you could totally do that. They're going to breathe that belief into you. The person who's not a big thinker is going to be like, you're probably right. They're going to try to like take you back to that place of comfortability, which growth doesn't happen there. So.
No. And that's okay.
Yeah.
We love those people.
We love them.
They're great people.
They are. They're just not people to have those
such
conversations
a good perspective.
with. Yeah.
Like your mom might not be not your mom, daughter's. Your mom's awesome.
Anyone's mom.
Your mom's awesome.
Somebody's
like,
mom.
Anybody's mom.
Yeah.
They may be the best mom in the world, but maybe they're not the person to talk to about your career change at 35.
Because they also want to be, they're protective of you, and they don't want you to get hurt. They want you to be safe.
And like your dad may not be the person to talk to about.
Yes.
He may be the person to talk to about all kinds of things.
Right.
Like,
just not that.
But maybe, and I think that discernment is really wise.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first time I ever heard anybody say it like that. And if you're thinking vision, you're thinking change in your life, find the right people to share that with. And the right people see it, but also can help you see, in not a negative, hold you back way, the challenges you're going to have to overcome to get there, and encourage you to get past those.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
And have other conversations with those other people.
Yeah, I talked to them about other things,
just like everybody's got a thing, not just the
No,
weather.
Just kidding. Just not that stuff.
So you manage a very broad business.
I do.
Do all this leadership stuff. Have a podcast.
Yes.
Have 4 amazing children.
I do.
And
a husband.
do things like, and you're an
My
awesome
5th
husband
child.
who I've known before you.
Yes.
You somehow managed to do all the sports stuff.
Yep.
Run the concession stand.
No,
Are you done?
I'm
you
done.
set some boundaries?
I stepped down.
Good for you.
Started learning how to say no. So
that's what I was gonna ask. How do you do it all? Like you don't like balance.
I don't like the word balance.
So how do you keep it all together?
So what I've learned to have more harmony, and you've told me this before, like years ago.
I doubt it. You're probably
you definitely did. Was like, you need to. It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like a recovering people pleaser for sure.
When I said that, I didn't think you were going to say no to me about the job.
I know. And then you were the one I said no to first. But I have this, like, I don't know, drive within myself that when someone asks me something or like they need something, I just want to say yes so bad because I just want to help people. And then I realize that my capacity in which I can do all of those things is not as large as I, in my brain, think that it is.
Yeah.
So I've learned that there's things that I need to say no to. And so the biggest thing I heard on another podcast, and I don't remember what it was, but someone said, your no is someone else's best yes.
Hey.
And I was like, oh, so if I don't run the concession stand, there's someone else who really, that would be their best yes. Like, that would be the perfect thing for them. And they wouldn't feel stressed. And so I think in the last 2 years, I've done a lot of work at like evaluating what do I need to start saying no to. Oh. And what's like the most important for me and my family. So I think that that's what you have to ask yourself. Like, what are your goals for you, for your family? And then if it doesn't align with those things, it's okay to say no. And I even had to like learn how to say no. I didn't say no to you, and like I was like, no, I didn't practice that. It was like actually torture. Like kind of like a really rough, like I don't think I could do this anymore.
It was messy.
But I've learned how to more eloquently say no to people. And it feels like it used to feel so bad to say no. Like I remember when I told you no, I like felt so bad about that for probably a week. But now I feel good about it because I'm not just making like this quick I'm really thinking about it. Does this align with what I have going on right now? And if it doesn't, then it's okay to drop it or delegate it. Like that's another big thing that I've had to work on as a D. Have you had to work on this as a D personality? Delegating? Because sometimes we think we can do like all the things. And it's not even like I don't think someone else could do it as good as I've done it. Although that's probably the case sometimes.
It's probably the case more than sometimes.
Right? But I feel like I've learned to delegate more. Yeah. Which is good. There's some things that I've unapologetically delegated, like a cleaning lady. Like I really I mean, I clean my house every day, but I had back surgery a couple years ago. Well, not a couple now. It was probably like 8 years ago now. And I just like couldn't do certain things.
So hard to keep up.
And so we had to get a cleaning lady at that time. And then they started coming and then I was like, can we keep them?
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't get to keep them. Like they're not.
They don't live with me.
They work for you.
They were. And then I thought to myself, so this is a good point, right? Because for women, sometimes they have a really hard time thinking about like delegating something like that because there's a lot of pressure to be like the one who does all the things. Okay, well, physically, I was not able to do all of that. So I thought about it like, well, I'm paying them and they need to pay their bills. So like I'm helping them. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well,
it's just a different way
people
to
are
thought
to get,
about
like,
that.
Like think about that when you land a sale or something.
Right.
That's super exciting.
Like, they probably love coming to my house every other Friday.
Like every time something dings on my phone, like I used to sell online courses. Now I have a book.
Right.
Like when you get that like notification of sales made, that's like a great like little bump in your day.
So I'm like, I'm helping them. I feel better about my life. I mean, I'm still cleaning every day, but if you're
gonna work for somebody, actually, you're probably one of her clients, right? Like that's kind of how that works. Even though she works for you, that or he or whoever, right? So
you got it right.
That person, it's super nice to have somebody to work with have a client that is nice,
right,
decent, and a good family.
And a good family.
Like
And I clean before the cleaning lady comes, so they love me. My neighbor was
not
like,
really delegating, Alyssa.
No, it is. I tidy up. But a friend of mine was like, oh, I really need someone to like really clean like my house. I'm like, well, I don't know that my cleaning ladies are the best for that because it's like, you know, they're not like, let me come in and reorganize your whole house.
Because they never got the chance to do.
Probably. I never allowed. That's the D. I had to make sure.
Trying to let go in leadership, right? Like the process that it took me a long time. Don't micromanage, delegate, be okay if somebody does the job and it's not as good as the way you would have done it or it's done differently.
I've kind of watched you walk through this partially.
Yeah. It's been a journey, right? Yeah. I feel like I'm much better at it now.
Yeah.
And there are times where I go, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. It's better for them to do it.
Right.
It's better for me. It's better for them. It's better for the organization.
Right.
Even if they get there differently and it takes longer.
That's really hard.
It's not done as the way I would have done it.
Right. Right.
But it is so beneficial to everything when you can let go of that.
Yes. 100%.
And probably most beneficial to the people we have at home.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because then we're not like, we have more time, more headspace, and we're not miserable about somebody else messing up something that we would have done differently.
100%. My husband would agree with that statement. Makes me a better version.
So you're kind of like talking about boundaries a little bit.
Yes.
Have you had to set boundaries?
Oh, yeah. I've been working on my boundary setting.
Are you good at it?
I'm getting so much better. So much better.
Where do you think it's hardest to set boundaries?
I think it's hardest to set boundaries with family.
Ooh.
And I think it's hardest to set boundaries with friends, especially for me as like a recovering people pleaser, because I want to make everybody happy.
Right.
And I want everyone to like me, which is not going to happen.
No, it doesn't change. Your desire to make everybody happy doesn't change.
Because I set a boundary.
People being happy.
Right. Oh, I know.
It just makes you unhappy.
Exactly. And I was very unhappy. I went through a stint where I was super unhappy because I was just trying to make everybody else happy and do all the things for everybody else. And I was highly neglecting myself.
So what was the moment that you woke up to that? Maybe it wasn't a moment.
I don't even know. There wasn't even a moment. I just realized like, wow, I'm not, because I'm typically a very happy person.
Yeah.
And I was just miserable. Like things that normally I would be happy about, I was not, and I just didn't have a very positive attitude, which I'm typically very positive. So that was kind of how I knew that I needed to make some changes. Something was off. And I think I asked you this question. I was like, setting boundaries is hard because part of me felt like, well, am I a good Christian if I set this boundary? Am I like, is that bad to like set that boundary? But I learned that boundaries are actually biblical too. Like it's they're found in the, and I was like, oh, so I've literally done so much research and reading on boundaries so that I could feel like not so bad about setting them, but they are so important. Like if you are not setting boundaries and you are feeling the way that I described I was feeling, I highly suggest that you start setting very small boundaries first and then like work your way into the whole boundary
That's what I was
setting
going to
scene.
ask you. How do you start?
You just have to do small things.
Small.
Start very small.
And boundaries are best when they're communicated clearly.
Yes. Yes. And also, I learned that I have to be okay with however the other person receives that boundary.
Yeah.
Because my boundary setting is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But sometimes it's met with like a resistance, especially if it's not a boundary that you've ever set previous.
Right.
People could be like, whoa, where's this coming from? But I've learned that it actually helps both parties. So I'm much better at my boundary setting now.
And I think sometimes we imagine a bad reaction before there actually is.
We play like the whole movie in our head of how it's going to go down. Then
and sometimes people react badly.
Yeah, and it's okay.
Or they say, or more often they say, yeah, okay, that sounds great, or we agree to that, but then they push
don't.
past it.
Yeah.
You know,
like
and you have
probably
to, like,
didn't really mean that.
You have to just keep.
You just got to keep resetting it.
Yeah. But most of the time, I think people are.
Yeah,
whatever, good.
Right.
Okay, great.
And again, it's one of those things where people don't care as much as you think that they do sometimes. Like, you know, like
they're not thinking about you all the time.
Thinking about it the way that you are. You can get so in your head about things that really the other person doesn't find as important.
How do you chase harmony in the hustle?
In the hustle, I just really try to communicate. Communication is huge.
Yeah.
Like especially in like your marriage or relationship, because I think that it helps. Like you have to have, it's not like one conversation.
Right.
It's multiple conversations that happen over time. And having 4 kids, it gets tricky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like having harmony because everybody's going in a different direction. But I have just tried to set boundaries, figure out what's most important to me right now, what's most important for our family.
Yeah.
And then kind of just go from there. And I'm not like, it doesn't always, harmony, you have to adjust, right? Like there's always new things that happen and new things that pop up. So you have to be flexible. I think that's a big thing.
What's something that your kids would, is this the one you asked?
It's the one I pulled the fam on.
I try not to really stick to all these questions, but
I know, but since I alluded to the fact that there was one that I pulled.
So what's something your kids would say you're really good at, and what's something they'd roast you for?
So the really good at, I thought that they would say that I'm really good at like just, I don't know, like, you know, being a mom, like doing mom stuff. And it depends on, so I have 2 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah.
So my girls said I'm really good at makeup, which I was like, oh, that makes me feel so good. And then my boys said, which this cracked me up and I couldn't wait to tell Dan about this. They said my driving. I'm really good at driving.
Is that because like, Dan is really bad at driving?
Oh my gosh. So Dan's driving. Like, you know, we just talked about on my podcast about like summer traveling and like how to make it a good experience.
Yeah.
And one of those things is sometimes I should probably just start the drive because in our car that tends to start to, and he's not like a bad driver. So Dan, I'm really sorry I'm throwing you under the bus, but he does this thing.
Fine.
Like,
he can take it.
He could take it. I roast him for this all the time, but we'll be like driving down the road and he's driving. Okay.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, like I'm scanning ahead for, you know, potential hazards.
Yeah.
He's like, guys, look over here. I'm like, how are you driving if you're looking out your own driver's side window? And he's like, well, I could still see. I'm like, nope. I'm scanning. You're sightseeing. Maybe we should switch. So yeah. So they said my driving. So that made me feel really good. And then roast me for, so Kellen said he roasts me for my power walk. So what that is when there is something going down in my house that they know probably should not be happening.
Yeah.
Apparently, I power walk to the incident. And I think I kind of knew, but I guess I really walk with a stomp when in that
That's such
to
a
get
mom
the attention.
move.
So it probably sounds like Jumanji, like right before it was the music, as it starts to come on. That's probably when they're acting up and they hear my footsteps. They're probably like, "Oh, we should probably
everybody run."
So so that's one thing. And then the other thing that my entire family roasts me for is I trail off when I talk. Now, I don't realize that I do this. Yes. I think I talk just fine. But my whole family, my parents, my brothers, everyone says that I will start talking and then I just kind of go like this. And apparently there's an old SNL skit with like Penelope or something, which I
feel like I've seen it.
I was not like a huge SNL person at that time of my life because it was like years ago, decades ago. And so my uncle actually calls me Penelope sometimes because I trail off, and I don't know that I do.
Is that just what is that?
I don't know.
Is that like I'm going to talk quieter so they lean in and pay more attention?
So like I have hearing problems because when I was younger, I've had like 16 surgeries on my ears.
Really?
And people would be like, "You're so loud," but really like I couldn't hear, so I didn't even know I was loud. I was just talking, and so then I thought like, "Oh my God. I'm loud. Like I have to be quiet."
So I have to be quiet.
So I think sometimes I talk and I'm so self-conscious that I like start to get,
because that's a move too. Using I got, Jen listened to the first podcast of this and she's like, "Josh, you're not public speaking. You're not preaching. You can't use like your volume to draw in the audience." Because the microphone's just not picking it up. There. People in the car can't lean in.
Yes, that's probably those get quiet moments. I know. So I work on it, but I still do it.
So here's another question.
Yeah.
You raising 4 amazing kids.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah.
Very active. Right.
Yeah.
Kids are in sports and all kinds of stuff. And growing business.
Yes.
Influencing.
Yes.
Women. How do you maintain your own space and identity in that? Because that's the problem with people who give so much.
Yes.
And, you said it at the beginning, live to serve, is sometimes we get lost in that. And there's probably a lot of moms.
Yes.
They're living for their kids. They're doing all the sports stuff. They're like doing the whole thing, working jobs. And they're like, at some point in their life, maybe they feel like, where am I? Where's my dream? Where did I go?
Totally went through this. During the pandemic, that was a big one for me because my business was at like an all-time high. Like I was doing phenomenally in my business. I had just had a baby. I was working for the church. And I decided on, I think, pure hormones to homeschool my children for
That's a bold jump.
a year. And that was great. Like I'm so glad that I did that.
Yeah.
But in the process of that year, I totally lost myself, like who I was as a person. And I really had to start doing some hard work on figuring out like what makes me tick, what makes me me, what makes me the best version of myself. And so the one thing that I must do is move my body every single day.
Yeah.
And now my family like knows that. So they're like, if I'm starting to get a little, on edge, they'll be like, "Mom, maybe you should go take a walk." Yeah, you guys are probably right. I'm going to go. But it's just so important for me to do that. And so that was the very first thing that I did when I realized like, wow, like I need to start working on me. And I think in the process of those walks and those runs, I started to remember who I was again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I never really got to spend time with myself. I was always spending time with my kids since they were being homeschooled and when I wasn't with them, I was working. So it gave me like this time and space to just be with me.
Yeah.
And have like I always say like when I'm running, my favorite part about it is that it's me versus me.
Yeah.
Every morning. Like I'm just in my own head,
Right.
like with whatever thoughts are going through my head. And then also just challenging myself to actually like make it up the hill kind of thing, me versus me.
Right.
But I think that was the first thing that I did that made a big difference. And then also it's digging into my devotional, like taking time in the Bible every single morning is super important because when I don't do it, I'm definitely off. And in that season, I had gotten away from that.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I found is that I kind of forgot this, like that's where God speaks to you the most. So I think that's, you have to know what kind of makes you tick and remember who you were. Like, who was I before I had kids?
Right.
What was I good at? Like, what did I do in my free time? I don't know. And just kind of start to get back to some of those things. Can't pour from an empty cup.
That's true. That's 100% true.
So you have to take time.
And it sounds like just cutting out space.
Yes.
Without those expectations, without those distractions, without
was huge.
Having to do something for somebody, just doing really stuff for you.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I love the remembering who you were before. I think for couples too.
Yes.
Like remember
how much you liked each other.
Like yeah,
when you
sometimes
first started dating.
When you finally take a date night or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I still love this person.
Yeah, this is great.
They're actually pretty cool.
Yes, exactly.
I remember.
I know. And that's another thing too. Like Dan and I weren't taking any time together either. Yeah. And so it was, and part of that, and this is like a parent thing. So for any of you who are parents, you can feel like guilty about that if your parents are watching the kids for you to go somewhere. And a friend of mine was like, well, and my parents are amazing. So shout out to my parents, because if it weren't for them, I would be a hot mess of a mom with 4 kids. They help me. They're like also taxi drivers for my kids. And, they said, you need to stop asking family and like find a babysitter who you're paying, like pay them.
So you don't feel bad
feel bad about like, because they help me other times just to help, like, so that you and Dan can start to just do stuff without like, oh, what time should we be back? You know, because we'd like go do something, but then I'd feel the need. And not that my parents ever made me feel that way.
They probably were having the time of their life.
I mean, my kids love going to my mom's house.
Yeah, they were having a blast. But you still internalized that guilt.
Yes, that guilt was there. So that was a big change.
Because your mom would be like, you're crazy. Stay out as long as you want.
Right.
We're having a blast.
Exactly.
Things are going great.
Yeah.
But we always everybody keeps, we all do it. Like we all just internalize these thoughts that we think are true and they're not true. But if you can find a way to release yourself of them, even if that's not a true statement, if paying somebody to babysit helps you release that fear, it'll ultimately help you enjoy your relationship with your parents more and enjoy the date you're on more. Yeah. And so it's worth it.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, so if your life had a theme song, if your life was a theme song right now, what do you got?
Oh, I don't know.
I want to be where the people are.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Maybe like the Rocky theme songs. I feel like just.
At least it's not that new anxiety song that's trending everywhere.
Oh my gosh, my kids. But maybe the Rocky themes, because I feel like I'm like cheering myself through. You know, like, you're gonna make it.
You can do it.
I could do it. I just feel like I'm like running a marathon of life right now.
Best and worst thing about youth sports. What do you got?
The best?
Are you going to get yourself in trouble?
No. The best is probably the relationships and the friendships and just like watching. I think the experiences for your kids are so, like, there's so much they learn through youth sports. And then there's so much that they learn that you hope that they wouldn't have had to learn yet. Like, if that makes sense?
Yeah, 100%.
And different conversations. And then the worst thing about youth sports is, I think just sometimes the time, like there's just not a lot of time. Like I dislike that in this day and age, Sundays are no longer like sacred. Yeah. Like when we were growing up, I didn't really have sports on a Sunday. It was always
like a thing that was off limits.
Yeah, it was like off limits. Nothing's off limits anymore. Like they're just out there doing all the things. I'm just trying to keep up. That's how I feel. So I think that's probably my least favorite thing.
Man, this has been such a cool conversation.
Yeah, this was fun.
What's one piece of advice you got for our listeners about life, about whatever, any piece of advice you have for our listeners?
A piece of advice I have would be to stay true to who you authentically are.
Hey. Like,
just remember who you authentically are and unapologetically be that person, but never stop working on yourself.
Yeah.
Like you are a continued work. Like you have to.
See, I love how you frame that, Because your authentic self isn't just how you feel in a moment.
Right.
Because our feelings lie to us.
Right.
It's like who you're made to be.
Yes.
And that's a journey.
Yes. You've never arrived.
No, that's really good.
So
I love that.
that's what I would say.
Anything living rent free in your head? It's a question I ask people.
I know.
Sometimes they don't have anything. Sometimes it's serious. Sometimes it's funny.
Don't really have anything. Well, right now, what's living rent free in my head is Forrest Frank's Your Way's Better from like that TikTok dance.
Yeah, that's going on all the time.
My girls are just walking around the house
doing it.
And I'm like, okay. So I feel like whenever my mind is quiet, that song is playing.
Yeah.
But I would say that's about it. That's the joys.
Well, it was awesome having you on here, Alyssa.
Thanks
so much for
having
doing
me.
it.
I
And
loved this.
I hope people go check out your podcast.
Yes.
Harmony in the Hustle. What a cool title.
Yeah.
I feel like you should have stickers made of that or something.
I know. I got to get like a t-shirt. Like
How many episodes are you guys in?
we're on episode 9.
Wow.
Yeah. We're
I'm
just
going to have to go check it out.
banging them out. Yeah. Go check it out.
Do you guys have guests on or is it just you guys?
Yeah. So we've had one guest. We're recording with another guest this week. And then we have a couple other guests coming up that are going to talk about like budgeting for families. Like it's just all about things that I feel like, or we feel like women need right now.
That's perfect.
So go check it out.
Go check out Harmony in the Hustle.
Hustle and Harmony podcast.
Hustle and Harmony podcast.
Yep.
And rate it. Listen to it. If you like it, rate it. That helps us so much.
Yes.
Subscribe and rate. What helps this podcast, what helps Alyssa's podcast is when you don't just listen to it, but you also shoot a rating up on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or subscribe on YouTube.
Yep.
All those things help
Share
enormously.
it with your friends.
Because otherwise the algorithm's going like,
I know. It's so annoying. Algorithms. You know, that's just how it goes though.
we could kick the algorithm. You guys can help us kick algorithms to the curb.
Yeah, right.
So thanks for being on here.
Yeah.
It was awesome to have you.
Thank you.
And thanks for checking out this episode. We're so pumped that you guys joined us for another episode of the I'm Here For It podcast. Whatever you got going on in life, no matter how crazy or messy or chaotic things are, we're here for it. Work on some boundaries. Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Be on that journey of being your authentic self and who God made you to be. And lots of good things are going to start happening in your life. I'm just honored that you were here with us for this episode. It was such an amazing time. Thanks. Can't wait to see you on the next episode of the I'm Here For It podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the I'm Here For It podcast. Just a quick reminder, the thoughts and opinions shared on this show are our own. They don't necessarily represent the thoughts and opinions of our employers, our places of business, our families, or maybe even people that don't want to be associated with us anymore. And honestly, sometimes we even question our own thoughts and opinions after these shows have aired. We're not doctors, therapists, lawyers, experts in anything except maybe overthinking things. Well, maybe some of our guests are some of those things, but for real, this podcast is not about offering you professional or therapeutic help. We're just here having fun. It's for entertainment purposes and maybe a little bit of education. Yeah, we hope it can make your life better and make you smile and encourage you a little bit. But seriously, this is more like a group chat that you didn't know you needed. So don't take anything too seriously from us without at least double checking it with someone who actually knows stuff. Stay kind, stay curious, and no matter how weird it gets, we're here for it.